And we started this conversation sometime last week. This country, we even though we are blessed with crude oil, we don't refine the crude oil in this country because the Tamale refinery is not working. It's not been refining for the past almost 5 years now, right? And over the weekend, we got to hear from the acting managing director of the Tamale refinery, Mr. Combat, that he, together with the management, giving assurances that by October, Tamale refinery will be back on stream to start refining, all things being equal. Hope that that comes to pass. But as we speak, that's not happening. And so we have to import over $400 million of finished products, petrol, diesel, the petrol that you go to the pumps to buy, diesel, all of that, we have to import over $400 million. That's our bill at the end of every month. And then, as a result of what is happening, this will definitely impact on price of crude oil on the world market. But what we have seen tonight is that the beginning of today, the crude oil prices crossed $80 a barrel. But as of this evening, when we check the Bloomberg terminal, it has gone down to just about $70. Some are quoting $69. But this is what the Bloomberg terminal is quoting today for Brent crude. Now, there are some dynamics as to how things are playing out right now. Because of that action by Iran on Qatar, it appears that has also then shifted the sentiments of the market to favor a downward spiral of the crude oil prices on the world market. As to how things will be in the coming days, we don't have control over it because this is an external situation. But what should be the mitigation measures going forward? Because we are in an economy where when the prices of petroleum products goes up at the pumps, it affects almost everything on the market. That's the nature and structure of the economy that we're running. Until things change, until the structure changes, until the basis changes, we're going to have to keep an eye on how things are playing out on the global front. And this is where Joe Jackson is a financial analyst joining me right now. Mr. Jackson, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Last week when we spoke, you were praying that the U.S. will not get involved in this conflict. Unfortunately, it appears your prayer was not heard with what happened 2 days ago with the U.S. strike on that nuclear site in Iran. And then what we have seen play out in the last 48 hours. Troubling, is it not?
To be honest with you, to call it troubling is an understatement. This is mayhem. And it brings to life our worst nightmares. The price of oil is going to go through a spike. And that spike will result in increased fuel prices in the medium term. That can't be good for our economy. And if these prices are sustained and this particular phase of the war where the US has entered continues, listen, we could have prices in excess of 18 cedis a liter. Do you know what that would do for our transportation costs? What it will do for food prices? What it will do to electricity costs? Because remember that in our current electricity mix, we're using a lot, we're generating electricity by burning fossil fuel. No, this is not good. When we spoke last week, a week ago, when we spoke, I expressed my worry that if the US entered this war, the consequences for the ordinary Ghanaian, the consequences for our economy be dire. And then soon after that, President Trump then says, oh, I'll take 2 weeks to give diplomacy a chance. And I was applauding. Only to hear in the news that the US has entered. And then this evening, the retaliatory strikes have started. That's not good. That's not good. We just continue to pray that seeing heads will prevail. We just continue to pray that everybody will realize that this can't be good for anybody in the economy. We just continue to pray that this will be resolved in the short term, so that in the medium term, we'll be back on track with the good news and the alignment of stars in favor of Ghana. It's a tough time. Everywhere we turn, there could be trouble. The cedi, we could lose traction when we are trending in the right direction. The only place where we could get some relief be gold. Because the more the turmoil, the more people will rush into gold, and the better it may be for Ghana. But that will only be a small relief in the light of the spike in oil prices.
I see, but it's instructive that you put the analysis of how this would impact on the economy in the medium term, because we heard from the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, as Godwin Etuji-Tamaklo, over the weekend, that there's some measures have been put in place. At least we have some 2 months of fuel reserve here that we can rely on for as long as this conflict continues, but we're not sure whether it's going to end before 2 months. And so the thinking is, after 2 months of these reserves, then what happens next? I mean, Mr. Jackson, listening to or hearing him this morning when he spoke to us, we're going to play that back, and that assurance that we got, that we have some reserves of fuel in place. It's refreshing, but let's take a listen to him, and I'll come back to you as to what the thinking should be after these 2 months. Take a look.
We are confident that with the stock we have currently, we'll be able to mitigate the impact of what people are expecting to be higher prices at the pump. You see, there are two key components: the FOB pricing and the exchange rate. Thankfully, there had been relative stability and firmness from policymakers in keeping the stability of the cedi in check. With that expectation, I'm confident that the expectation that prices will go up will not get there. What I see is that we'll never get to the like January 2025, December 2024 prices of petroleum product. We won't get there.
On what we have, the stock we have available, that's coming under some question. I don't know what the numbers are. What's the assurance in the confidence that could?
We currently have in excess of 200 million liters, 200 million liters, almost 240 million liters of diesel, over 150 million liters of petrol. So together, over 400 million liters of those white products in the country. But the question is, have our ports been shut to fuel coming in? Definitely not. We are putting in place all the mechanism to ensure continuous, flow of products into the country.
Well, that's some glimmer of hope. Mr. Jackson, is it not?
There was always going to be some. Listen, our oil prices and etc. We're buying in 3-month cycles, so there was always going to be some leeway in terms of us buying at the old price. But if this war continues, then the trouble will start. Then we'll start feeling more and more of the pressure. So really, we've got to pray that this is resolved in as soon a time as possible.
Well, we'll see how the coming days will go like on this. Thank you so much. Joe Jackson is a financial analyst, CEO of Dalex Finance. Thank you for joining us here.